Alright, this video is on coefficients, so we're going to say coefficients. I think I spelled that correctly. So coefficients. So when we deal with a coefficient, what we're talking about is the constant term or number, right? Let's say 3x. Let's do x in just a different color here. We'll do, say, purple. Okay, so 3x. So x is our variable term, and 3 is our constant term. That constant term is attached, you might say, to that x, that variable term, through multiplication, right? Now, if it's a coefficient of 1, so here we have 1x, the 1 is extraneous, so it's not something that we need to mention. Obviously, if I say x, we assume at least 1, and if it's more than 1, we'll notate that with a coefficient. So if it's 4x's, we'll say 4x, so on and so forth. So that is the gist of it. So that is what a coefficient is. Let's look at separating coefficients from variable terms when we are solving for an unknown. So if we have, let's say, 3x plus 5 equals, and then we'll just say 14 or something. So we now know, of course, that the x is just 3. And we need to isolate this variable term, right? That's our first step, is to get x all by itself. And so what we're going to do is divide away 3. Now if you watch the previous video on fractions, we talk about how cross-canceling works, or should I say why cross-canceling works. And when we understand why something works, it's a lot easier to remember. So we're going to divide away 3. Now that means that we need to do the same thing on the other side of the equal sign. And this, again, a lot of people forget, oh yeah, what I do to one side of the equal sign, I have to do to the other side of the equal sign. And if we understand why, it's much easier to remember. I would say it's almost impossible to forget, because that equal sign says something. We're reading this as 3x positive 5 equals 14. So that's saying it equals it. So for all intents and purposes, for this unknown right now, that unknown multiplied by 3, then added to 5, is going to equal 14. So if I eliminate 3 from one side, now I have x plus 5, or x positive 5 equals 14. That equal sign can no longer be true, right? Or the first one can't be true, but obviously we're defaulting to going off the original equation. Therefore, this cannot be true. So whatever we did to one side, we have to do to the other. And we divided 3 on this side, so we're going to need to divide 3 on this side. So that's what we mean when we say what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. That equal sign is like a teeter-totter, and we need to keep that teeter-totter balanced. Okay? That's the fulcrum right there. So now we have x positive 5, 14 divide 3. So we need to get that x by itself, right? So what's going to happen here is we have 3x positive 5 is equal to 14. So we want to write down all our steps, because it makes sure that we follow each of the steps that we need to follow. And whenever we do anything in algebra, we're going to make sure that we follow an order of operation. That's going to be PEMDAS. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Okay. So first thing we're going to do is we checked for parentheses, didn't have any, no exponents. We went right to multiplication right here, and we separated that element out, and we divided by 3. That left us with x plus 5, and we're going to write that out. X positive 5 is equal to 14 over 3, or 14 divided by 3. Now we have to get that positive 5 out of there. So that positive 5 is going to, we've done multiplication, right? We've looked at the division. We can combine like terms right here. So we can do that. Now 3 times 4 is going to give us 12. This is actually going to round to what looks like about 4.7. Okay, so we've accounted for that. So now we have x positive 5 equals 4.7. Okay. So the next step is addition. Here's our addition. We need to get that out of there. So we're going to subtract away 5 to bring it to 0. We have positive 5. We're going to combine that with a negative 5. So we're going to move negative 5 places, and that'll get us right at 0. So we have to do the same thing over here, negative 5. So we see that we end up with x is equal to 4.7 negative 5. And of course we can get that down to 1. So we have 4.7, we're going to go negative 5, it's going to be negative 0.3. Negative 0.3. And so we see x is equal to negative 0.3. All right, cheers.